miles, right? I mean, how many are buried along the roads that we use in the county highway department for?
I
So,
think the key word is knowing.
What we had is an official that actually stated that there was multiple bodies that may be outside of the cemetery.
I don't think
That hasn't been
multiple,
confirmed.
multiple is not the word used.
One or more doesn't matter.
Bodies everywhere.
I have a question. Before the legal opinion, it is the recommendation of the farm committee to farm this. We're tabling, it was, the table discussion was based on waiting on a legal opinion, right?
Yes, I asked
So
for
the
one.
farm committee, okay, I got it. That was just my own.
There was a statement, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead, a statement.
there was a statement made, I will read word for word. Since it was reported by a public official in a public meeting by a reputable historian of the property that there could be people buried outside the cemetery, hedgerows, etc. Hedgerows could have been, back in that day, could have been anywhere. Under a lot of, we've seen things in the past where, bury them under the maple tree. The maple tree may be gone. But we need to acquire as to exactly where every person is at so that we don't run into a problem later.
I will say one thing. The last person who died out there reported was in 1942. They're buried at the cemetery. So this farm has been farmed since 1942. Nothing has turned up. So I don't know why you think now. That drilling beans, 2 inches, is going to produce bones. They farmed, I'm not a farmer. But it's been farmed and nothing has been produced. So why?
I asked, how do you know that?
Wouldn't they? Well, you proved to me that there have been some there too. I don't know.
We don't know.
Has
That's
any
the problem.
farmer ever said there's been bones?
But it's been proposed in a meeting.
but the statute says no, right? No.
Cody,
When I read this, I read it as it was recommended to be farmed by the farm committee. Did they recommend to continue farming or no?
the recommendation of the farm committee is to continue farming unless otherwise directed.
I think we need to call the vote.
And Mark called the table up because he's asked for a legal opinion in writing that he doesn't
Yeah.
have.
But if the committee already did their due diligence and already said it, then we just need to vote. If they don't want to, then they vote no.
Mr. Chairman. And that tax exemption was denied. And I believe the wording used was that the property was not being used for a tax exempt purpose. To our knowledge, has that changed? Are we still using it for a non-tax exempt purpose?
No, just the other day I signed all the exemption paperwork and that was not in the stack of paperwork.
So we are using it for a non-tax exempt purpose,
Correct.
which means we're going to have to pay property tax on it.
Which means that is, whether it's on the tax rolls.
So, have we solved, since we're going to be paying our own property tax, have we solved the double taxation and taxation without representation issue yet?
No.
So if we're waiting on a legal opinion and we have multiple tax issues staring at us, I think we need to safeguard taxpayer money on that.
Well, we're already in violation of the rules if that's the case, because we've approved spending money on it, we're farming it, right? We're already violating it. If that stands to be true, then we're all culpable, right? Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already culpable.
Yeah, if we're already doing it wrong, I don't think we should continue.
Is it being farmed now? Is there a crop on it?
Yeah.
Voted on by the last board, correct?
So we're farming this thing.
Hold on, I've got to play back here.
So if we're farming this thing, we've been farming for many years, decades, and they're enriched for bodies or used ground penetrating radar to try to find these things. So be it. But why don't we just use like we've been using it. We've been talking about, well, do it legally, but this, just get done with the subject.
So,
We are currently not doing it the way that we have done it for decades.
I've been farming.
We have farmed it.
no, and in 23 now, fall of 22, going into 23, the board footed the bill for the inputs of the crop. So we were in a custom farm operation. Prior to that, it was leased, rented.
Aware of that, it has to conform to public purpose. We are a greedy county because we want to make all the money we can make off of it. If we want to put it into a park or something that is a benefit to the members of this county, not just to our pockets, then it can meet a public purpose. It can go to school, it can go to 4-H. There are a lot of uses, and there are a lot of counties that are doing that. And that is how they're getting by with the public purpose. We are not doing any of that. The word is a public purpose. You cannot just put it in your own coffers because that makes the most money for us.
Don?
I thought when we agreed last year to custom farm the farm, that it was stated that all monies over and above cost would go towards repair and maintenance of the courthouse, which I would think is public purpose.
I don't believe that was ever agreed on.
Okay.
No.
It was talked about, but never agreed on. Because it would make a lot of sense for us to earmark the funds.
Many of those farming conversations were held hingent upon the Illinois Department of Revenue not charging us tax on the land, but they did that, and that never got discussed, and the county just paid the bill. So lots of stuff was talked about.
Mark?
To address what Dante mentioned, that was a question that I actually asked our treasurer, whether we could put it in a separate fund, and we cannot. It has to go to the 029. We cannot earmark it. She doesn't check.
You're saying the income has to go with 029?
Yes, sir.
But the board could decide where it can go,
Well,
what it could be spent on. Do you want me to read the amendment of the House bill or not?
Well, we're not talking about the House bill.
Mark did, Mark mentioned the House bill.
And what if you want to, if any, okay, you can actually look it up, the actual video of the questions that were asked by the Senate members in response to how they changed the amendment and the qualifications with which it must still acquire to.
Mark,
Yes, ma'am.
can the farm committee please pursue and discuss with the other counties the process and how to reallocate those, maybe not reallocate those funds, but use that bucket for public purpose? How do they do it? If they can do it, why can't we figure out how to do that? And continue using the farm as it is until further notified, like the line item says.
Actually, if you don't mind, I'll defer to Dave. We talked about that quite a bit. You and Mitch have come to the committee because it has to be not just farming. It has to be something that the public can walk on the property at any time and have an activity, something that is supported. It's not about just returning dollars to the county.
How are those
I wouldn't call it a farm, there's no farm going on. They ran out the concession stand, and there's various activities that go on in that park.
So we could put a walk around the farm and call it a park.
But you would have to set up a park district.
You have to set up something. Go ahead, Dave.
I disagree with what he had said, then it has to become kind of its own entity. We do not, the Shelbyville Park is the city's, and it would be a county park, which would create a whole other department that would not sustain.
I think Cody had several different examples that we've actually mentioned to me. Not that any one in particular, but if you.
Yeah, it would just be like a park district where you would set it up, and let's just say we farmed 190 acres on the other side. The other part could be like grassland, where you could have people come in the fall and spring and then hunt that land, or you not farm it and make a 4x4 park where people can bring dirt bikes or whatever.
Right.
But that is a public purpose.
Yeah.
So the only way to farm it would be to set up a park district. Then the other part is who's in charge of that park district. So then that may be engaged.
Why can't the committee just be?
Well, apparently it was brought up several years ago, or a couple of years ago, and it was shut down.
Dave, when you come to the committee, you and Mitch, you guys were working on, was it FFA?
FFA and/or working with some of the, like Finley has a very active ag program where they were working with the lake, with some of their fields, doing dove plots, doing different things where the students actually got to go and participate in part of the program during school hours. So, do what?
Those students were also farming.
No, I'm not, I'm saying that's what's happening.
That's not, I didn't hear any farming.
Well, it's ready for public comment now?
Yeah. So,
Why you run the meeting?
Dave, stay on point. Up here, Dave, up here. No, we're discussing here.
yeah. I was brought up to listen to everybody, and I'm sorry for. I'll be done.
Yeah, Mitch?
Yeah, what Dave and I was trying to put together, got a whole lawyer to create a pilot program for Shelby County to do the pilot program to experiment, see if this thing was going to work. But you got to remember, the funds from those acres that is farmed can't be put in the coffers of the county. It has to go back to that school. And we was wanting to do Shelby County schools, they could do a 2-year term with this school, do a 2-year term with that school, and so forth. Whoever wanted to participate. I don't know if that meets both prongs of public purpose. I think it does, as long as you don't put the money into the county.
Teresa?
Are we trying to decide whether we can harvest the wheat and plant the beans? Is that what we're trying to do right now? Because if the law goes into effect, things are going to change anyway. So what are we trying to decide?
So this discussion has been brought up over taxes and public purpose. It means that there's a tax bill on the books. It means that the Department of Revenue is not exempted it from taxes. Therefore, there is no public purpose to exempt it from taxes.
So does the farm committee have in the budget for this year to pay the taxes on the farm?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that logic and reasoning, we can just put whatever we want in the budget, buy us all new suits and ties and clothes, and as long as it's in whatever budget, then we can do it. Doesn't, laws be damned, we can do it, because it's in the budget.
No, so it doesn't fit the purview of the office holders.
Exactly. That's the point. It doesn't meet a public purpose. The gentleman from the farm committee attempted to table this nonsense until he got a legal opinion that we could all agree or disagree to, but the majority wanted to have this conversation, so we'll have it. But until it meets a public purpose, it's illegal. The Senate and the House just passed that, and they just declared that.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I have a problem with paying those taxes, Mr. Chairman. The money that's going to be used to pay those taxes comes from everywhere in the county, comes from all over the county. If I understand correctly, when revenue comes into the county, it has to be distributed to the pertinent taxing districts in which the property lies. Am I correct so far?
Mm-hmm.
So you got people from 24 different townships who are putting money into the county. The county pays its taxes on that farm that's in Rose Township. I think it's 100% Rose Township.
Yeah.
Okay. So then there's money from 24 different townships, taxpayers, going to Rose Township. There's also a whole lot of school districts in Shelby County. People from every other school district in the county are seeing their tax money go to the Shelbyville School District. I've got constituents in Richland Township and Shelbyville Township and Windsor Township that shouldn't be paying into Rose Township unless they own property there. And I've got constituents in Straw School District and Windsor School District who shouldn't be paying into Shelbyville School District. They should be paying into the one that they're in, unless they own property there. And I don't have a single constituent. What's that?
Nothing, I'm just saying, what's been discussed seems a little bit inaccurate based on what I just read. So,
I don't have a single constituent who can vote for Rose Township Board where that money's going to be spent in that township. So my constituents are paying money into multiple places where they don't live, don't own property, can't vote, don't have any representation. I have a serious problem with my constituents' money going somewhere where they don't live, don't own property, can't vote. And that's just the taxation without representation part. The double taxation part that I mentioned earlier is when you pay your tax money in, the county takes it and distributes it to the different taxing districts. That's one hit of tax money for that tax district. But when the county takes its own money, taxpayer money, to pay its own property taxes, that's an expense on one side and a revenue on the other, I believe. And when it takes that in, even though it came out of one pocket and goes in the other, that revenue gets redistributed to the pertinent taxing districts because that property sits there. And so any property, any taxing district in which that property sits gets a second dose of tax money. That's a double taxation. We have a double taxation and a taxation without representation issue here. And there's a third tax issue. I don't think we've gotten an answer yet to the income tax question. If we have, I wasn't notified. Have we gotten an answer to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the county, because it's using the farm for a non-tax exempt purpose, has to pay property taxes. It would stand to reason, and I'd like to get a legal opinion, but it would stand to reason that if the income from a non-tax exempt process might also be non-tax exempt. So does the county have to pay an income tax on the income from the farm? I don't think we've gotten an answer to that yet. And hopefully in this legal opinion that Mark has requested, some of these tax questions will be addressed.
That question might have been posed to the auditors. I'm not sure if they responded.
Yeah, I'm not sure we ever got an answer. I would like to get answers before my constituents continue to put money into somewhere they don't live and can't vote.
Mark?
I got one thing to explain to that. Karen, what you're looking at there is what's happening in Springfield. It's been passed by the House, passed by the Senate, and it's waiting for Pritzker to sign. If he signs that, that puts it into law. But that does not exempt it from the Constitution. That is the second prong of this. It's to address other things so that if a county was to buy a piece of property years to develop it, or they have to sell the property. But it still has to meet the Illinois Constitution. Even if he signs it, it doesn't make it, it will not make it exempt from our taxes.
Didn't say anything about making it exempt from the taxes. You know, you lease property, you just,
It
you put the
doesn't-
taxes into the lease.
It doesn't meet the public purpose of the Constitution.
Right, like the airplane hangars out there for the leaseholder pays the taxes on them. That's a whole different authority. So what is the language that you guys are referring to that you had conversation about over here that you're
What
Uh-huh.
talking about?
just that the Senate floor amendment,
Okay,
part of it says, the county board may lease farmland acquired or held by the county for any term not exceeding 5 years, removes the requirement that the lease must be for a specified purpose, provides that the lease may be made via a cash lease, crop sharing arrangement, or custom farming arrangement, adds requirements relating to the bid process for farmland leases, and provides the counties shall not acquire farmland for the sole purpose of entering into a cash lease, crop sharing arrangement, or custom farming arrangement, or other specified purposes.
So you can't buy farmland
Can't
to farm it.
Yes,
But we didn't buy it for that purpose.
but we still have to.
no, and that brings up a unique point. We bought it for a purpose, and then that purpose went away in 67.
It also says that you can use it for the operations of the county.
What are the, I mean, I'm just clarifying, what are the operations of the county that we're using that for?
Or not. Right now, we're not. Right, it's just being held, is my understanding. Right, the money's just held.
Yes, that's not earmarked for any particular purpose.
So if you can use it for the operation of the county, it don't have to be, why does it have to be appropriated or,
This is new.
that in law yet? That ain't law yet. Christopher's got
It's
something.
been passed by the House, it's waiting for the government.
But it's my understanding that even it passed the House and the Senate, but it kept in place, there's still needing to be a public purpose. That was not, am I correct, Mark? There still has to be a public purpose. And if that land was being used for a public purpose, then it would be tax exempt. So the fact that they have not allowed tax exemption says to all of us, or should say to all of us, that it is not being used for a public purpose. Because just to make cash to put in the bank is not a public purpose.
And therefore, we're in violation of the Constitution.
Yes, we are in violation of the Illinois State Constitution.
Tim?
In fighting around this, it just seems to me that we're talking about the wrong thing. It's not whether or not we should farm it, it's how do we make it a public purpose?
Right.
Yes.
So, forget about this, whether or not it's gonna be farmed, it'd be silly not to farm it. Let's decide how we're gonna make it a public purpose. Are we gonna give part of the proceeds to the food banks, distribute it evenly amongst the county? That would be, to me, a public purpose. Are we gonna go out with, the 4-H,
So-
whatever, that would be a public purpose.
So when they were talking about like a park district or using it through the schools or like a unified extent or unified farm program or however, research farm, however it may be, that is all quantifiable public purpose. When you talk about taking the revenues and then donating it, well, now we're taking the revenues and we're gonna put it in the general fund so we can disperse it back out. Now we have a problem with donations because you can't donate tax dollars because once they go into the general fund, they're indistinguishable from one, if I have a dollar in my right hand and left hand. So I'm putting some qualifiers on how that public purpose is derived.
Okay, well, let's look at, what is the Farm Bureau thing where you donate grain? So much grain. I can't remember what the name of it is.
If I'm not mistaken, we would still have to have a budget for that.
Yeah,
We
you're operating.
wouldn't have any income to offset that.
But it would be a percentage. You would do a percentage.
If you could break it, I'm guessing if you could break it even, may qualify.
Now you're getting the Investments Act.
Yeah. What you're saying is actually what we've kind of tried. what Mitch and Dave have tried, and believe it or not, previous committee just nixed it. Didn't want anything to do with it because it was not as many dollars as we're getting off of it now. That was the hang-up. Nobody wants to donate. They wanted to make the most money.
I don't know, to put a stop to this conversation, I'd be willing to donate it. The whole thing, you know.
Tim, I think you're exactly right, though.
That's the way it should be.
We should be discussing how to find a public purpose use for that land. I think you're 100% spot on.
We've got it.
So I would
We
say,
need to farm it. And whether or not you think, you know, it was said that driving a truck would be like driving a truck over a cemetery and disturbing. It's not the same thing. I mean, is driving the mower over the cemetery the same as, it's not. There's no malicious intent when you're farming something.
It's the disturbance of the soil. So when you make, and then the comparison is the case where individual goes to the Weaver Cemetery, Weaver Assumption Cemetery, that direction, and created less desecration of the gravesite.
But that was malicious.
Yes.
Where this is not.
But I agree. We need to figure out how to make this suited to a public purpose.
Barbie,
Yeah.
there are 25 other counties in Illinois that lease their farms.
25%.
I mean, there are only 40 counties that.
I passed 3 people on the way to this meeting that were talking on their cell phone inappropriately because someone else does something inappropriate, we should too. Is that a good reason?
Can we call the question?
I would love to call the question.
Call the question. So the discussion and vote to continue farming the county farm property unless otherwise directed upon the recommendation of the farm committee. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes, nays, raise your hand. Mitch, Don, Lori, Brant.
Can we just roll call this? Wouldn't that be
Oh.
easier?
Yeah, roll call it. Roll call. So this is, an aye vote is to continue farming unless otherwise directed.
Okay, Mark Bennett,
No.
Teresa Bank,
yes.
Cody Brands,
No.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Mark Fernhaber,
No.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Annette Martin.
No.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
No.
David Ogden,
Yes.
Bobby Worman,
No.
Sonny Ross,
No.
Mitchell Shutt,
No.
Don Tate,
No.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
No.
Well, it's 10 and 10.
Oh, my gosh.
Classification on the motion failed.
Yeah, so the motion failed to generate a majority vote, so that fails. Item 14, discussion and vote to approve a resolution to change the hours of operation for a Class 5 restaurant license, Class B. to 7 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. Friday to Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sundays upon recommendation of the budget.
Who are we impacting possibly?
We have Castaways and Jackies.
So it benefits them?
Yes.
Okay.
It lines up hours.
So 4 nays.
Warning's motion carries. Item 15 is discussion and vote to adjust the liquor license fee to $7.50 to coincide with the 15-month fiscal year adjustment period from 9/1 to 9/1/23 to 11/30/24 upon the recommendation of the Budget Committee. Motion by Dave, second by Martha. And what this does is, since we are changing our fiscal years, rather than having somebody pay a 3-month fee to carry us a little ways, and then turn right around in 3 months and pay another fee to carry the rest of the fiscal year, it puts them all together. And this is, when it comes to like terms and fees and things like that, it is up to the discretion of the county to set those and establish those, so.
I don't believe that we should be adding any money on. We are the ones that changed it, and I think that punches the building, or the owners, I'm sorry. I think we should just move it through and just let them have that 3 months.
Okay, that's,
I guess it doesn't add any money?
Well, if they're adding on for 3 more months, we are the ones that did that. So they,
Well,
wait a minute.
it's $600 a year. We're going to a 15-month budget. So we're just adding the 150, then they'll go back to a 1-year cycle it'll be the same.
It's the same monthly fee since we're going from 12 months to 15 months for this one term.
Yeah, we're not.
right, but in my opinion, we did it, we should just waive it and just let them.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Cody? Nay. Item 16 is committee reports, any committees like to, Julie?
Well, I guess this is committee. I met with Kevin Busher from CEFS today for a training thing, and he wanted me to let the board know that they appreciate the support that we provide, but also they're working on making referral, I guess, booklets, I guess they're going to be called, for all the county. I mean, all the information will be in this booklet for all 7 counties that they serve, including Shelby. And the hope is that the board members will use that, take it out to the community as a resource for referrals for some of the low income or families, in need of their services. So I think he said July. So hopefully I can bring those to the July meeting. If not July, it'll be August. They have 11 programs that they have funding for, grant funding for. They will lose some because of the COVID money stopping, but most of them have to do with food security, housing security, Head Start, daycare, and he just kind of wants us, or the board members, to consider areas where we feel the community needs their resources, and kind of bring that to the CEFS board at the next meeting.
Any other committees? Carol?
Okay, the airport is doing very well selling fuel. July the 8th, if anybody would like a flyer, is their fly-in and drive-in car show. It's from 8 to 5. They'll be having food and drink vendors, a DJ, 50/50 drawing, helicopter rides. They do need help with parking. If anybody would be interested in helping with this day, you can let me know, or John Hall. Many businesses have donated items to be raffled off to the participants. from Chicago that is meeting with this committee, helping because he does a lot of car shows. Paul Kennedy has started painting the main hangar by himself. He's doing the top of the hangar. It's quite an undertaking because of the logo. He has to prime it, go all around all the letters and everything. The EAA, which is an Experimental Aircraft Association chapter of Decatur, in agreement with the Lake Shelbyville Flying Club, offers a junior and senior high school student to apply for free flight lessons. And this year, Caitlin Funk from Assumption is that recipient. They hope that she'll be finished with her lessons in 90 days. It takes about 55 hours of flying time. There are also, these students fly 3 times a week and they study their manual and take tests. And if they don't pass the test, then you don't get the license. There's also 2 new students who've joined the Civil Air Patrol Club, which meets on Saturdays. They're very busy out there. If you have a chance to go out and see them, they really like to have visitors. That's it.
Any committees? Mark, we'll come back to you, Cody.
Finance Committee, I will commend all the members for working so hard. It was definitely not an easy task this time. And we received several invoices after the date to be reviewed, and some of them go back to April, which I would appreciate if they'd been a little more up to date in getting them claims to us. But we have been adjusted for some invoices we were missing, and I had 2 members review those as well as myself, so that it's not just myself reviewing. We usually take at least 2 out of the members to review them.
Cody.
So the legislative committee, just to reiterate, me and Julie are going to meet with Lisa and Natalie from ASME, and one of there'll be 3 of them and 2 of us, for the quarterly meetings that have not been done in years between the union and the board. They are, I would assume they are excited. Natalie emailed the other day to make sure that we're good. So if there's any board committee members or that have questions with the union that they would like to bring up, please let me and Julie know, and then we can ask them during that meeting.
Cody, question for him. Just to clarify, this is just a way to communicate, open communication. There's not really, is it negotiating at all, or is it just open
Not really
communication?
negotiating, but like with the pay raises,
Yeah.
that could be brought up and we can move the discussion.
So like if, let's say the Road and Bridge Committee made a recommendation, that could be brought there and you guys could talk about it. But it's not negotiated, it's just,
And
hey.
we can start the process of getting that accomplished.
Okay. Cody, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you to Jessica and Erica for helping the Highway Department while they do not have anybody there in the office. So that's coming to an end, thankfully, coming up here. We are going to have a special meeting on Monday. It is going to be interviewing 5 or 6 people. So we don't plan on any action or anything, or voting on anything, other than we're just going to open the meeting, close the meeting, and go into interviews. But I just want to make that public announcement that that's going to happen on Monday here at the second level courtroom B on 5:30 on Monday.
Well, I said I was gonna try and make that one, but I've got a 911 meeting at 5:30, so I'll be here.
Yeah. And I guess I'll add this. If anybody who's not in the committee wants to come, would you please just let me know if you want to sit in? And I ask that you just let me know in advance so we can kind of plan for it. You don't have to let me know. But I mean, you're welcome to attend, but I would say keep in mind, when there's 22 people staring at one candidate, it's a little overwhelming. So that's why I want to maybe coordinate that with you a little bit. So everyone's welcome, but we have to also take into account logistics and things.
To clarify, board members, because it's a closed session, so it is not actually open to the public.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're just going to open it, close it, and the board members who would like to participate, just please let me know in advance. That would be helpful. You don't have to, but that would be helpful.
Hearing none, and chairman updates, just got notification today that we are in compliance with the federal government and the SIMS program for data, so that means that we are. Thank you. Sorry. So, starting from the top, we're in compliance with the federal government and the SAMS program for GATA, which means that we are registered, we are established with a new address, which is here. It actually was over at the zoning office. So since we've gotten all that paperwork finally fixed and remedied, we're achieving this GATA compliance. I did get a call today that from the gentleman from Prairie Power, that they've completed their archaeological survey and their stakes are still out there. He's going to try to remove them here in the next week or so because it looks like it'll be coming on pretty quick. And their staked areas, they came up with nothing to be found, so they can proceed with the project and contracts and things moving forward here in the next few months to get things set up for their project to go through. What else has happened here lately? About it off the top of my head. So we'll move on with appointments. Item 5, I'm going to skip due to the necessity for legal counsel to look into the whole investigation of the board of review in terms of the board of review. So we're going to skip that one. Up next is Dr. Richard Brown of the Airport and Landing Fields Commission for a 3-year term. Jeremy, seconded by, wait a second, Julie. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Next is John Hall to the Airport and Landing Fields for a 3-year term. Dave makes the motion, seconded by Clay. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Next is Dr. Doris Bowers, County Health Board, 3-year term. A motion, Julie, seconded by Lori. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we have a conglomerate of Kenneth Fry, Greg Miller, Maria Schaefer, Dave Ogden, Mark Shanks to the Shelby County Tourism Committee for a 1-year term at the request of Tourism Director Freddie Fry. Your motion, Jeremy, seconded by Julie. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I'm going to skip the next one. Number 19 is correspondence, 20 old business, and any old business.
Did you need to skip
Did you
off
need to
that?
skip 2 of those?
Yes.
Okay.
I got a message, last meeting there was discussion about solar farms as a public purpose. There was a meeting Monday night, I believe with the zoning committee, and they unanimously voted down allowing solar farms and wind farms. So,
Zoning committee.
what-
You're talking about
is it planning?
planning commission?
Yeah, whatever Doug said, did I get the wrong name?
Was it Board of Appeals or planning commission?
I think it's planning that Doug's on.
That's planning commission.
unanimously voted down allowing wind and solar farming.
I have a question about that. The meeting that I went to, that the new person over in zoning said the law was the law for everybody, and it didn't matter what you said, the law states this is what it is.
I'm not saying that
I
that's.
didn't go to that meeting you're talking about, but I went to the one prior to that, and he told everybody in that room, the way that law is written, it applies to everybody.
Okay, I'm just updating with, I told Doug I would pass on what he told me, and that was if they voted it down.
I know there was some other people in that room besides me that heard that. I can't even think of the zoning guy's name.
The way I understood it was they just didn't have the information in time. They didn't have a chance to look through it. That was their problem with it.
Okay.
So what was, this was planning commission, and they did what?
Doug sent me,
They voted against wind and solar
wait,
on
hang on, let me get so I have his exact words so that I don't scroll down. That he wanted me to share that they had a meeting last Monday and made a motion to not allow solar or wind farms in Shelby County, and it carried with an unanimous vote by their committee.
Is that the zoning person?
That's the
What
planning
her
commission.
committee dug up
It's
his own.
it's the steps of zoning ordinances. You start with the planning commission, then you go to zoning board of appeals, and on to the full board. So I'm not exactly sure, I guess I need to read that, so I didn't.
That's why I'm bringing it up in old business. I told him I would tell the people who
Yep.
needed to know, so it's
Very
been
good.
told.
I'll follow up for sure. Any other old business?
Question, do we have an update on the subdivision issue yet?
Negative. Any other old business? Item 21 is approval of claims. Is there a motion to approve the claims?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mark, second by Don. Any discussion on the claims? 3 seconds.
Okay, are we gonna pay them all? The ones that I got a note on, I took the bill from H. Wilson's in for the one for the rescue squad that there was a question on. And that was one that hadn't been approved. And then there was one, are the taxes gonna get paid for the farm?
I wish to amend the claims.
Pardon me?
Motion to amend the claims. Second by Lori. What?
We got some claims. There's 16. We were lacking, which has already been approved, but we didn't, the committee lacked the invoice. So you have that one. The others, 16 pages, are from the coroner. And I had a couple other members view of them as well and signed them. And they're 16 pages. Do you have a total on it by chance?
Make it 17, I'm sorry.
No, but I told him he needed
I
to
don't
submit
I
the
don't
week
understand
before,
that.
not the day before.
I don't understand that.
Because I question how that can be an open meeting
So I don't know if that's an
when
ongoing thing or not.
they're not reviewing
More fee.
with the posted agenda. So,
There's nothing.
Yeah, we're getting, some of the invoices are actually from April, so they should have been turned in last month.
and I don't know, he may not have gotten, I don't know. But yeah, he didn't bring them in until right before I sent them to you.
Yes, so I think it was, 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, something like that, or yesterday morning. And I'd be paid to not get them paid because they go out and we don't want charges. Toxicology, $149. There's the invoice with it. Autopsy, $185. That's recent. mileage, 1037, mileage, 720, mileage, 1113. Death investigation, mileage, 1021. Autopsy, $2,000, which is usually $1,000 for each one. I believe, yes, there's $1,000 for two different cases, for a total of $2,000. Morton fee, $498. And that's all I have.
So the amendment will be to add the invoices and the claims that have been spoken into the record.
Correct.
Still on second that, sorry.
That was 10, that was 17. You're taking out 17?
No, it's 16. Oh, I'm sorry, Leach Wilson for $450 on an automobile repair.
Which the committee had approved, so long as we could get a copy of the actual invoice prior to the meeting, which we got. Thank you for bringing that over.
Yeah. But I'm confused about what we're not paying.
We
We're
did,
not paying the taxes on the farm ground, we pulled that. We had a bill, the whole MyTech bills, which if you got the minutes, they were so, I don't know if you line item of what got pulled from that. And there was a late fee on a bill from the circuit clerk's office that we approved the bill but not the late fee, and made a request for the circuit clerk to call the vendor and explain our billing process, and if we need to amend the billing cycle, do that, so we're not suffering a late fee every month.
So for clarification, we didn't pull the stuff from MyTech. It'll just be reallocated, right? So the departments were essentially being charged 2 times what they should have been, so we reallocated their funding back to their bill, amended their bill, or their payment, so it reflected the proper amount.
So how many of those were there?
Well, those were approved. Those were already,
Okay, I'm out. I'm lost.
we're just explaining,
My second doesn't count.
those were already approved in our minutes.
I'll second for the amendment.
So the amendment is to add the bills that were spoken into the record, seconded by Martha. Any other discussion on paying of the claims? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mark Bennett,
yes.
Teresa Banks,
Yeah.
Cody Brand,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole, Julie Edwards, Martha Bernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Annette Martin,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson, David Ogden,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Don Hay,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Motion to approve the claims as amended, actually. Who had the motion to approve the claims? Mark, who seconded it? Martha. So,
No, Don, you talking back to the original.
back to the original. Don
Yeah, I seconded the amendment, Don seconded.
Don, made a
Original.
second on the original. Roll call on the original as amended.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Banks, Cody Brand,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Carol Cole, Julie Edwards, Martha Bernhaber,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Matt Kessler, Annette Martin,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Tim Morse, Lori Nelson, David Ogden,
I did not say anything. I didn't,
Say yes.
we're paying the bill.
Yes.
as
As
amended.
amended.
We read it,
What you
and
read.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
David Ogden,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Mitchell Shettle, Don Hay,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, those things. I'd like to open the floor up for public body comment.
Before we do the public body comment, I have a question. Are you skipping number 5? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Can you explain to me why?
Because there is, we need counsel on this. is board review by statute, and Lori referenced this in the last meeting, is to be appointed by the board. And there's no statute that allows an elected board of review unless you have a population of so high. So the question is, my question is, does the referendum stand if there was a referendum in, what, 91?
Yeah.
81.
Twice it was voted on.
So go ahead, Lou.
I asked last month, and I'm gonna read this so I get all my details in there. I asked last month how the second and third vacancy would be filled regarding the statute 35 ILCS 200/6-5, and the department head said she didn't know and could not answer my questions, and we would need legal counsel. I've reached out to the state's attorney. I've not gotten a response back. I've spent the last 3 weeks reading and rereading the 420 pages of tax code and asking questions along with others, and asking questions to find out the process, the requirements, and the legal obligations in order to be in compliance with current law that I read last time that says any county under 150,000 population. This week, the county's standing to elect a board review member, or possibly two, has been called into question by others. It's in my obligation for due diligence. I've reached out to our state's attorney. I've communicated with 2 other counties' offices, with a dozen others who are knowledgeable of the statute and the legal parameters, including 3 lawyers who specialize in tax law at the Illinois Department of Revenue today. Many of us do not see how Shelby County had a legal authority to hold a referendum in 1981 to make those seats elected on the 1981 ballots. Whereas today, in the previous state statute are clear, a county with our size population is to be appointed. I don't see how there's anything that rectifies elected and appointed when the law seems clear today. Now my questions are focusing around compliance. Since I have not received any confirmation that the referendum was lawful to elect and the statute is clear towards appointing, based on our population, I would ask, how are we to comply with the questionable actions from years ago versus the statutes that stand today? I want to believe that each one of us on this board wants to do the right thing according to what the state law is today and comply with today's statute, because we were sworn in, we uphold the law today, and I would move forward with clarity on this and other matters that are being addressed tonight, and I would hope that you would all agree that we would want to comply with state statute.
What counties did you talk to? You said 2 other counties. What 2 counties did you talk to?
They're neighboring counties.
What 2 counties?
What does that matter? You can call them. What do you want to do specifically?
Speak up.
What 2 counties did you talk to?
It's not a secret. You can call any of the other counties.
Well, that tells me.
I don't.
Okay, and what supervisor did you talk to about the board of review?
They are to follow the law.
What supervisor did you talk to about the board of review?
The head department heads.
Who's the department head?
The assessment, the supervisor of assessment, and then a former
She's not the
supervisor
supervisor of those people.
Well, they're the people sworn in, elected, she's not appointed, sworn in to follow the oath of the statute. Who did you talk to? Did you talk to the lawyers from the state? I mean, I'm not sure who you talked to. I would like you to tell me where the state statute does not apply. That's my question. I read the statutes. I've read them over and over and over. Where does it not apply?
Okay,
Thank you.
She talked to 3 attorneys at the Department of Revenue.
Okay,
3 attorneys at the Department of Revenue.
Yeah, what's her name?
Bobby, please.
Jeremy.
Lori, in all honesty and with all due respect, if your information is correct and you've researched it, which I trust, then there shouldn't really be any problem citing your source. I mean, not that you have to. I'm not saying you
A
can't.
county clerk
Okay.
that I trust to be top-notch and honorable, as they've proven through their records, who actually used to hold the supervisor assessment role. because I don't know the current supervisor assessment role in that county. And then another person who's been recognized at the state level for their leadership in their role, who's a supervisor of assessments.
Okay, but you're being asked questions that don't undermine your point. There
And
shouldn't,
several lawyers, I don't know all of their names either.
that's okay, but you're being asked questions that don't undermine your point, and there really shouldn't be a problem with saying who you spoke with.
If the person she spoke with wants to be anonymous, let them be anonymous, and it doesn't matter who she called, she's standing on state statute. It's irrelevant.
They both recognize state statute, and that's what I'm looking for. Where is it said that we are not to follow the current state statute for a county of our size?
And that's
what I'm
fine,
wondering.
I agree with that absolutely.
So
I just,
the who is irrelevant. The point
I
is,
think it is.
okay, moving forward, I would yield Matt.
And maybe Lori, nobody can answer this question, but I'm curious, what are some ways to cure this, to remedy this? Oh, Lori's talking to me.
I think just following the statute would be the way to remedy it.
I think that's what she said, she's asking our state's attorney for the legal opinion, and that's why Bobby skipped it,
How to
because
proceed, okay.
we need guidance on how we undo what was done incorrectly, and how do we rectify it before we start appointing.
I would ask the same thing, because it does matter to an extent how the appointment is processed, which is why I asked last month when there was time before the board review would actually be expected to meet. Because there are taxpayers who actually need to have the board of review assess, like, view and review their taxes, their tax bills. There's a form called the Certificate of Errors that needs to be filled out in a timely manner. That's the point of the board of review. Those things need to be done. That's why I asked last month when the vacancy was to be made known.
Okay, so real quick on the floor, I'll recognize Jessica, then we'll go to Teresa, and come back to that.
I did some research on this issue, and in 1981, there was a referenda. However, it was done by petitions filed by 2 taxpayers in Shelby County. At the same time they filed the petitions to make the Board of Review elected, they also filed petitions to make the Supervisor of Assessments elected. She filed an electoral board hearing, she took it clear to the Illinois Appellate Court. Her name got thrown off the ballot, but the Board of Review stayed on. Now, in 1983, the Supervisor of Assessments, I believe another taxpayer filed another petition to make that office elected again, and it was put on the ballot, and she was elected. And I went to the public library and researched old newspapers to find how this all came to play. Because unfortunately, we don't have to keep things forever, and that I don't have that information in the office, but I remembered, so I went to the library and researched newspapers. It was like, I've done all I'm going to do. It's not my job to research this, but just for my own satisfaction, because I wanted to know how it ended up on the ballot, and that's how, by taxpayers' petitions. It was a big deal, something with Lake County, something with the new farmland assessment. There were also petitions filed at the same time in Vermilion County to make those offices elected there. Pat Quinn, who went on to be governor, was the attorney representing this group, so that's kind of how that all came into play. Right, wrong, and different, that's how it became elected.
I know you've been diligent about it.
So,
Thank you.
Teresa.
Just a comment. You've tabled this. The lady that thought she was going to be appointed has sat back here all evening. And why you made her sit through all this, I think, is very rude. Point.
1 second. Yeah.
I didn't read how many pages.
It was 407.
Okay, I read 6. Because I'm an underachiever at some efforts. But I will say in my 6, I think the answer probably lies in the 6. I don't know that for sure, but I will say that page 1 and page 5, in my opinion, conflict with each other. I don't understand it. And so, obviously you've done much more research. I can't find a solution. So I do think it needs some additional help, some additional review. Because again, it doesn't give, it talks about counties less than 3 million, but then it talks about a parameter of between 100,000 and 3 million. And then it doesn't talk about anything less than 100,000, right? So what's applicable in here, I gotta be honest, I don't know. If anybody can tell me the definition of a commission county, It's a starting point.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the definition of a commission county? Because the answer might be in that paragraph. I don't know, but I don't know what a commission county is. See, I didn't go far enough, it's apparently, so, but
It was on page 7.
page 7 held the key. I
We
didn't
might find an answer you got mentioned.
I think, if I remember correctly, there's 3 different setups of counties in the state. There's home rule, which is Cook. There are, I think, like 70 or 80 some others that are township-based, and the rest are commission counties. They have commissioners. It's a different setup for a county, and we're not a commission county.
strike that, that paragraph doesn't apply. So Zelda's key is still missing.
Tad, to your point, referendum is what complicates this.
Yeah, and I get it, but I tried to find other solutions.
Yeah.
I can't find
Plus
it.
other statutes as well.
No.
Did our supervisor assessment say that if we don't have an operating board of review, we are possibly not going to be able to levy us taxes?
That's what she said. So the board of review is appointed inappropriately. And if the board of review, every review they do, nullified. So the question is do you do anything? I think we better find out what our training attack should be.
That is my point.
Yeah. And I would like to move forward and open the floor for public comment. Public body comment. Sharon.
My question was, last month I thought you said you were close to hiring a county engineer, and now that's not close to hiring a county engineer? Last month it sounded like you had somebody ready to go. It was all about these extra bonuses and stuff.
Sharon, we had somebody in the candidacy portal, but they chose to stay with their current employer who counteroffered.
So we're still looking.
Yes.
Okay, so then on the admin assistant, and I know we went back and forth on they need to get paid according to other counties in that position. So my question is, what is her pay? What will her pay be?
It's $25 an hour.
25 an hour? Okay. Okay, and does she have a job description so she knows what's expected of her?
Yes, that's in the employment contract.
Okay, okay. And I know you guys put in a lot of hours, you get a lot of paperwork, you've got a lot of committee meetings, and I know what the pay is. It's nothing. I understand that. But everybody on the board has been here at least 7 meetings. And for a board member to sit there and say, is the farm being farmed? That is, you guys should be embarrassed that you have a board member asking that. That's ridiculous that that was asked tonight. Is the farm being farmed? You know, shame on you guys. And it's not everybody, but if you can't do your homework to be there, then step down and let somebody that wants to be on the board be there.
Everybody comment? Mr. Colby.
Oh, yeah, Bobby, I would like to know why the public's given this sheet of information on what you're going to decide. But of course, we're not able to say anything until after the meeting's over. So what good does this do us? Now, the time before, we had public purpose before the meeting, and you got tired of that. I know that the public has a right to say what they think before these things are decided. You did not listen to anyone in the audience before you guys made your decision tonight. And I'm not very happy about that. And Kirk, I can tell you why we don't have a county engineer, because you ran him off. So the county engineer was, now don't wipe that smirk off your face.
Is this?
We don't have a county engineer because
Public comment gets directed to the board. Public comment gets directed to the board.
Okay, I'll talk to you, Bobby.
Let him speak, John.
The reason we don't have one is during that time that he was here, he got us over $24 million in grants. The last 3 years he was here, I have all this on paper, I have it, all the records. The last 3 years that he was here, he gained us $7 million, okay? And 21, 22, and so far in 23, we can't even file for a grant. And I don't know why he was let go. Did you prove he did something wrong?
So
I guess you don't have it.
He retired.
He retired.
Then he retired, he wasn't let go.
He's forced into retirement. Please, in respect to the speaker, everybody just needs to listen to the speaker, and, you know, you can ask questions and we can get back with you.
I have talked to him, and he wasn't ready to retire yet. He was scared. He got out of here because he was afraid he was going to get thrown in jail or something was going to happen to him. So now I go around to all these departments in the county. I've been to them personally. And these people some of them in the courthouse are so scared they can't sleep at night. One girl says she's pulling her hair out. That's because they're being accused and threatened with lawsuits, and this is not right. Now, there's something really serious going wrong in Shelby County. And the way you treated people at the highway department, as far as I'm concerned, Matt, this was a representative board meeting. They told you how they were treated. And this is only my opinion, but you shouldn't even be on a committee where you deal with people. Now, that's my personal opinion. So you can take it or you can leave it. I don't really care. You got my wife where she wants to quit, you guys do. I don't blame her for wanting to quit. This is crazy about all this public purpose crap. Are you telling me that if a farmer has to pay taxes on his land and he gives it out to county, that the county can't use that for a public purpose? I mean, are you the legal authority on public purpose? I mean, I don't get it.
There you go.
I'm just giving my opinions, and I hope I'm still have a right to be given them. But what I see happening is just nothing but pandemonium and people arguing with each other about nothing. And if you're going to decide to do something on this farm, then take it to court and let's let a judge decide what you can do and what you can't do. Let's don't discuss this among a whole bunch of people that don't have any idea what they're talking about, and I don't either. But let some judge someplace decide. Don't let Mr. Hanlon decide. He decided somebody was guilty in court yesterday, but they weren't. I mean, where does all this crap stop with everybody yelling and screaming at each other and threatening each other and making fun of each other and laughing at each other? I mean, this is just complete pandemonium to me. I'm 81 years old, and you can throw me in jail, or you can sue me, or you can do me whatever you want to, but I still have a right to my opinion. So that's my opinion.
Real quick, I'm sorry, when you initially came up, you said you had something on the agenda to address. Did I miss that?
We couldn't address it before you already decided what to do. It doesn't do any good to address it now because you already decided what you wanted to do and you didn't want to listen to anyone. Somebody didn't want to listen to what the public had to say.
Okay, Bill, got a comment. Over here. Please identify yourself. Who are you?
Tammy Smith. Just have a couple comments. I was originally going to speak about bipartisanship this evening. You know, I've identified myself as a Democrat most of my voting career because that party adheres to my personal beliefs. And I understand that to get on a ballot, you all had to declare a party. Once you are elected, that party should be second and your constituents should be first. You all swore an oath to be bipartisan to all the constituents of this county. When you accept it, you say you are going to be an advocate for everyone. That's how it should be. And I'm exceedingly upset that our ARPA funds are being sent to McHenry County to scan documents that I'm sure there are capable individuals right here in Shelby County that could scan those documents. We don't know what documents are being sent up there. We don't know if they're going to come back. Who's taking them there? Who's being responsible for logging what is taken there? And how are we going to get them back? And will we get them back? And the other point that I wanted to speak to was having a CPA firm outside of this county receiving our tax dollars to do our annual county audit. That is ridiculous. We have certified CPAs, licensed CPAs right here in this town. Our money should not be going up north. It should stay, if it can't stay in this county or in this town or this county, it should be spent in another central Illinois county to support each other. I don't get it. That's it. Thank you.
Public body comment. Yes, please, identify yourself.
Brock Hammond, and I'm speaking just for myself this evening. In 2018, in the general election, the majority of Shelby County voters in this particular board district elected my friend Patricia Kinsel to serve on the Board of Review. It just so happens that she ran as a Democrat. Now, we're in a situation now where no matter if it's appointment outright or appointment to through the partisan political process, I'm not a part of it. I'm not on the Democratic committee. I don't know anything about it. I don't even know who's on it, truthfully. But the point that I'm trying to make here is, no matter where the appointment originates, where what the basis for it is, you know, the taxpayers still elected Patricia Kinsel, a Democrat. She stepped aside. We've got Lavon Cheney right here, who is ready, willing, and capable to do whatever she needs to do. You know, all the certifications, and which the lady from Maliqua mentioned. So I see no reason. Of course, I'm not an attorney. We've got a state's attorney down the hall that can answer it better than any of us, probably. Or maybe not, I don't know. We have somebody that has stepped up and put her name in. I don't know if anybody else has. I know some other people that would be interested in it too, but you know, they haven't put their names forth. So we have somebody, and I see no reason why it needed to be skipped over. But again, it's just my opinion, and it's what it is. So, thank you.
Public body comment.
Chris.
Chris.
That's all right, Bob.
Thank you.
That's all right. I'm sure a lot of people like to forget my name. I just would like to have some legal definition of public purpose from somebody on the board. We've got a lot of statutes cited tonight. Folks seem to be up on things. I'd like a definitive idea of what public purpose is from somebody. And if not this time, next time. That's it.
Quick answer. Department of Revenue declares tax exemption. It has a public purpose. That's just a quick snapshot.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of other things that go into it. Public body comment?
I just have
Sorry.
one last item. I was hoping to speak on the court firm this evening, but since that's been decided, I don't know that that would do any good. But since the public comment was moved to the end of the meeting, I know previous boards had it at the end too. I just think that it would be nice if, you know, maybe there's some people out here that have perspectives or expertise or, you know, just other thoughts about things that they'd like to share. I had some things I wanted to share on the court farm, but it won't make any difference now. So, and it's nothing that nobody else can look out for themselves. So I think that was a shame, but I'll save it for whatever your next action is on the farm. Thank you.
Anybody comment? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I couldn't see it. Sonny.
I just have a comment,
Gets in the
Ms.
way.
Marilyn.
No, I'm going to recognize her and I'll come back to you.
I just have a question. I've been to several board meetings. First of all, my name is Charlotte Watton. I've been to several board meetings. Usually, the public body comment is before all of the actions are taken. And tonight, it was so obvious that you skipped the public body comment and the action on the appointment to the Board of Review. And it just seemed like it was really orchestrated. And I find that very, very unfair.
Okay, now.
Marilyn Maxera. The only comment I have, based on what Jessica stated, and I did look it up too, that there was a referendum in 81 and 83 for the supervisor and for the Board of Review to be elected. If you don't do that, then you're usurping what the taxpayers voted on.
Yep.
That's my only comment, and I think there'll be repercussions.
What if it's contrary to statute?
Some counties have voted that they elect. Some do not. Shelby County did, and it's precedent for 40 years. So the voters voted it twice. And I just am saying, you are usurping what the voters and the taxpayers voted on.
Everybody comment. Tricia.
Yes. With the public body comments, when you didn't have them, number 3, if you would have put them where you want them. If you want to put them last, put them last. If you don't, you put them where they've always been. But I think I came up here tonight. I drive 15 minutes over here. Usually I stay for public comment and go home to spend time with my family, and I watch the meeting later. I spent 2 weeks in a hospital with my son. And I wanted to come in here, say my comments, and go spend time with him. And so I made sure that there were arrangements that someone was around. But I come to these meetings because we have lost so much humanity in how we treat people. And I'm going to keep coming and keep coming. And I'm going to say the same thing over and over and over again. I don't care what. I've always been classified as pretty far right. I'm not left, if that's what you think. Never really have been. My dad's a minister of 50 years. My mom was a principal and a teacher. My mom worked for the Republican Party in the 60s. What I'm seeing out of the local Republican Party, that's not the party I would want to be a part of. How you treat people, how you react to people, and how you talk to the taxpayers. You don't have to like what we say. You don't have to agree with what we say. But if we can't sit and talk to each other in a respectful manner, we're lost. And we need to get it together. Thank you.
Hold it. Tricia. She's got a sick son that's been in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's super unfair.
I'm familiar, that's my sister's boyfriend.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm familiar with the situation.
She deserves.
Everybody comment.
I want to say something on the road and bridge committee, and I'm not going to condemn anybody here, but that truck you guys talked about earlier, I was on the road and bridge committee, there was money there, it was appropriated, it was bid out through the state to get that good price, and I don't know where the money went, but I do know that they had a track hole that went down about to fix. That was after I was off. And same way with the grader, the transmission went out of it, and it cost $25,000. There was only one used one in the United States. There was no new parts for it. That's how old they're getting. And these guys that's on the road and bridge better wake up on that, because you're going to need some equipment out there yet. And that transmission came from the state, if I remember right, Oregon or Washington. $25,000 plus it had to be trucked here. So that's where probably part of that money went, but it was appropriated. That's all I want to say.
Public body comment? Public body comment?
Bobby,
Yes.
you as the chairman set the meeting, you set the agenda. Is there a reason why public body comment was moved to the end?
No, I don't set the agenda. The agenda has a general format, so I don't set the agenda. Just set that straight.
Okay.
The reason for moving public body comment to the end is I'm going to guess there's probably 1,000 people on the opposite side of that camera that would like to know the business of the county as well.
That's right.
And you're here, and you have the full obligation to speak, and we're recognizing public body comment. So we've accommodated all of our requirements. So that's why.
You have, you've opened up the public body comment, but I'd like to say to everybody, I think a lot of the frustration with some of the public is the lack of transparency from this board. When you do things in a sneaky manner and try to do things on the side, that makes people think you're trying to hide something. If you do it all out in the open, they don't think you're trying to hide something. Thank you.
Public body comment. Public body comment. Public body comment. Motion to adjourn. Lori, second by Cody. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Sorry, no.